Hey guys, welcome to Christina Cakes It. I'm Christina and today I'm making a Disneyland themed cake. So the reason I'm making this cake is it actually was requested by my colleague's daughter for her birthday, but it works out perfectly because my niece and nephew, who are 6-year-old twins, are also coming out in a few weeks for their very first trip to Los Angeles, and of course we're going to Disneyland. So I'm really excited to make this cake, and my idea for this is I'm actually gonna go with the famous Disneyland castle. So you guys can see that I already have a crumb-coated 4-layer 8-inch cake, and there's a funfetti cake under here. But the first thing I'm gonna wanna do is I'm gonna wanna get some color onto this, so I'm gonna use the ombre technique to do that before I start working on my castle. So to make the castle, I tried a lot of different things, but what ended up working out for me was putting the template on parchment paper. So I traced it on, and what I'm gonna do is I'm actually just gonna trace the outline onto the fondant. I'm not gonna do all the details, I'm gonna freehand that. So I've rolled a piece of fondant, and I'm just going to lightly trace the outline of the castle. And what this is doing is it's making impressions into the fondant, and I have used this technique before on several of my other cakes. So what I'm using is an edible food coloring pen with a very fine tip, and I'm just going to be drawing the entire outline of the castle into the fondant freehand. I did want to get the measurements just for the kind of skeletal shape in because I did want that exact. I found when I was practicing and freehanding, I kept making it uneven, so I thought just having this part was helpful to me. after I finish freehand drawing the entire castle, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to cut out almost like an oval around the whole castle. And now I'm just going to go ahead and keep cutting away around the shape of the castle. So what I'm trying to do is just remove excess fondant. So I decided to use powdered food coloring to color this. I felt like using like gel food coloring that was watered down would be more difficult, and when I was practicing I found this to work really nicely for me. So I'm using powdered food coloring for all of this, and I'm going to start off with very little because I can always add more. So I'm just going to start by coloring in the gray for the castle. So I'm just shading in the stone here. And this is almost going to give like a watercolor effect. And most likely I'm going to go back in and trace over some of the black outline that I did. So I'm not worried if that looks a little bit like faded, because I'm going to go back over it. My castle onto the side of my cake, I want to add just like a splattering of white, kind of like the famous Disneyland fireworks. So I'm just using a toothbrush with some white food coloring, and I'm just flinging it onto the cake. Step to this is I'm just going to use some Wilton Dab and Hold to paint on the back of my castle and adhere it to the cake. So I am going to go ahead and insert a cake pop stick just behind the top because I'm worried it's going to fall over. Just to give a little bit of extra support. Alright, so my Disneyland cake is done, and I absolutely love how this castle turned out, and I really enjoyed using the powdered food coloring on the fondant. I definitely think I'm going to do that again, and I do hope that you guys enjoyed this episode. If you did, don't forget to like it and subscribe to my channel.